I am going nuts today in the sartorial kitchen. That's right, I am cooking with nuts. Kicking things off, it is a homemade cashew dressing that I'm using for a simple garden salad. Then I'm breaking down a rotisserie chicken for the broth, using that to make a West African peanut stew. And last but not least, peanut butter blondies with peanut butter ganache. So why don't you pull up a chair and dine with me?
To my garden, everybody. One of my last trips out here for the season. Everything is pretty much picked through, except for my cherry tomatoes. I'm grabbing a bunch now because I want to use them for a fresh little salad I'm making. So let's face it, green lettuce can be just a little boring sometimes. So I love to jazz it up with some fresh things from the garden. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. One more thing I want to grab, some fresh parsley. Yes, I am growing my own parsley out here as well. Isn't that something? I've got a huge bunch of it right here, and I'm just going to grab a nice little bunch. It's just going to be a garnish for our soup. So we're just get a little bit here that we can mince up. And I would say that's perfect. I will see you guys back in the kitchen. Welcome back, everybody. I am just giving a little rinse to these tomatoes and parsley that I picked earlier. The tomatoes I'm using for a salad, and the parsley is going to be a garnish for our soup, which I'm getting ready to start on now. It is a peanut stew. It also has chicken in it, so I splurged and got a whole rotisserie chicken, and I'm going to break that down for you guys now. What I like about the rotisserie, it's already cooked, so it's nice and tender. So when you're butchering it, it kind of just pulls right apart. All right, our stock is cooking down. We're going to move on to our dessert first. I want to give this plenty of time to cook down before we move on to the rest of our soup. So we're making peanut butter blondies. Now, what is a blondie, you're asking? So a blondie is like a brownie without the chocolate. We're doing peanut butter instead. So I'm starting with an egg, so I can watch for the eggshells. I'm going to do my wet ingredients first. I've got an egg. I've got a stick of butter. And we're going to do some vanilla. About a teaspoon of vanilla. And then I need some brown sugar. I need a whole cup of brown sugar. Brown sugar you want to pack to make sure you get a full measurement. That goes right in. And then we're going to give that a little cream. Just come in here with our whisk. Break up that egg yolk, break up that butter, and just mash everything together. You can use a mixer for this if you want, but I'm not above doing it by hand. You just want to make sure everything gets broken up. That butter is incorporated to all the sugar. And I need a half cup of the peanut butter. So I'm just going to fill this cup scoop about halfway, which should be about 3 dollops here. Let's see, we're also going to need a pinch of salt, and I think that's pretty good. Salt is really important in desserts because it brings out the natural flavor of everything. And then lastly, we also need a cup of flour. So like I said, it's 1, 1, 1, 1, and I'm just going to use my little scoop here. Just make sure you level it off. 4 scoops is a cup. Otherwise, we'll end up with peanut butter in the flour. And then we're just going to come in here and whisk our flour together with our peanut butter and our other wet ingredients. And I just am really carefully just kind of turning this on itself, just kind of folding everything in together. I don't want to overmix the flour, otherwise we'll end up with really dense, chewy blondies. And I want nice, soft, tender blondies. And then come up here on the sides of the bowl and make sure we get all that flour. We don't want to lose any flour, and I think we are pretty good. And we are ready to throw them in the pan. I've got a little 13x9 here that I've greased. And we're just going to spread that right in. And I'm just going to come in here with my spoon. This is another reason we grease the pan, so it's easier to spread this out. And these are going to cook up kind of thin, almost like more like a cookie. So don't be afraid to spread it as thin as you like. All right, I think that's perfect. So this is going to go into my oven, which I have already preheated to 350 degrees. They're going to bake for about 20 to 25 minutes, or until a toothpick comes out clean. And then we can move on to the rest of our dish. Okay, that's continuing to cook down. I'm going to go ahead and prep the dressing for a salad that I'm going to be making. I just got a nice little lettuce mix, and then I picked some tomatoes out of the garden. We're going to make a cashew dressing. Have you ever heard of such a thing? Well, you're going to find out exactly what it's all about today. So I've got some lemon here. I was just rolling that out to release all the juices. You get a lot more juice out of the lemon when you roll it first. And then got my little juicer here, my handheld juicer, and we're just going to come in here and give this a big old squeeze. Oh yeah, I want the juice from this whole lemon. I like the juicer because it keeps seeds from getting into it. And we'll use this side too. I want the whole lemon. And that's going to be, I don't know, about a 1/4 cup of juice. Beautiful. All right. And then I want some Dijon mustard here. Not that boring yellow stadium mustard, but actual Dijon mustard. A couple tablespoons of that. A little honey for some sweetness. A couple teaspoons of that. I like a dressing that's a little kind of sweet and sour. And then I got some garlic here. This is some of my jarred garlic. A couple teaspoons of that, and I want to get some of that garlic oil as well. That's just going to give you extra flavor. And some olive oil. Also about a 1/4 cup, so it's about equal parts oil and acid. And then I'm just going to give this a little whisk. And then I want to throw in some fresh cracked pepper. And also some salt. Good amount of salt. And then this is just a classic mustard vinaigrette. And you could keep it like that if you wanted to, but we're making a cashew vinaigrette, so we need some cashews. And again, just like with the hazelnuts, I got some cashews that are already roasted. I'm going to do about a 1/2 cup. And those are not going to break up with our whisk. So I've got my little emulsion blender here. And we're just going to come in here and pulse this up until we break those cashews up. They're going to break down and they're going to make this a nice creamy dressing. All right, that looks gorgeous. I'm just going to give it a little taste to make sure I've got everything where I want it. Mmm. Oh, yeah. Okay, so you taste the cashew, gives a beautiful nuttiness. You get the freshness of the lemon. You get that heat of the Dijon. Just a little tinge of sweetness. And then that nice little hint of garlic. Beautiful. I'm going to pack this up, and then I think we will be ready to get our soup rolling. All right, guys, welcome back. We are moving on to our soup. For that, I'm going to start with some butter. About 2 tablespoons. And then about 2 tablespoons of oil. The butter's going to give us lots of flavor. The oil is going to give us that higher melting temperature so the butter doesn't burn. Everything renders down nicely. Our stock is boiling away. It smells amazing. So I'm going to come in here and dice up this onion. Just cut that in half. And we want to get the skin off of this. Do not want the onion skin in our soup. Onions are a great base for any soup or stew. I've also got a pepper here, and I've got a clove of garlic from out of my garden. And with the onions, I know I've shown you before, you just come in here vertically. This piece came off, but that's okay. We can still use it. Just nice small dice. You can see that better in that oil. Listen to that. Oh. One of my favorite sounds in the kitchen is the sizzle of a pot or a skillet. So that means good things are about to be happening. I'm going to let that onion kind of go ahead and start to cook down. And come in here and give this a little stir, just so everything's incorporated. I want to make sure those onions get coated in our butter and oil. I'm going to throw in a little salt. That's going to help draw some of the moisture out of the onion so it reduces faster. It's also going to be the base of our flavors here, and I'm going to throw in a little pepper as well. And just let that get going here. Just on a medium to low heat. And then while that cooks down, we will prep the rest of our veggies. So this is a sweet and spicy soup, so I'm definitely going to be bringing the heat here. I've got a jalapeno. You can use whatever kind of pepper you like. You like serrano or a habanero, depending on how hot you want it to be. And I'm just really careful here with this jalapeno. So I want to take out this innard here. I just kind of come down like that, and then just cut it right out. The membrane and the seeds, that's where a lot of the heat comes from. And then I'm just going to come in here. I think I'm going to cut these into 4s. Just like that. And then we'll come in here and dice them again. Normally I would mince this, but since we're going to be kind of pulverizing it, I think it'll be just fine. And I'm only using one. One is enough. Plenty of heat there. All right, we'll just give that a little stir. Let it kind of reduce. And then it's time for our garlic. And I just come in here with my palm. Just kind of give it a good shove. That breaks everything open, and then you get your individual cloves. And you just come in here with your knife. Give it a little smack, and it pops open. And again, I would normally mince this up, but we're going to be pulverizing it here soon. So I'm just going to kind of leave it as is. But I think it's time to pull out our peanut butter blondies. Let's go ahead and turn that off. Ooh, yes, look at that. Nice and golden brown, nice and firm. Okay, I'm going to set these off to the side to cool. We'll be frosting them later. I'm going to show you a really cool trick for some peanut butter frosting. All right, those have sweat down nicely. I'm going to go ahead and add my garlic. I always like to wait to add the garlic because it will burn. And there's nothing worse than the smell of burnt garlic. And while that garlic cooks down, we're going to go ahead and start seasoning here. We've got some cayenne. This is a spicy soup, so I want lots of heat here. So it's got some cayenne, about a half teaspoon. I'm throwing it in now because I want these spices to kind of bloom with the oils and really get a nice depth of flavor. And then I've also got some cumin here, which is just going to add a nice kind of earthiness. I'm doing a couple tablespoons of the cumin. I want some more salt here and some pepper. And also a little cinnamon, about a half teaspoon as well. Just nice warming spices. And then we stir that around, and then the onions are going to get coated in it. And it kind of starts to cling to that oil and butter, and then it just kind of cooks down and gets a little toasty. All right. Oh, look at that. And you can see where the oil has really broken down those spices. So I've got a couple other things here. Some minced ginger. And if you want to buy the fresh ginger and you want to peel it yourself, that's fine. I just need about a teaspoon. It's already minced for me, so it's going to be just fine. And then I've got some tomato paste here. I need about a couple teaspoons of the tomato paste. I like the tomato paste because it's like a concentrated tomato flavor. And I kind of like to let that break down first, kind of like I did with the spices. So this is like a peanut butter and tomato, let that cook down. And speaking of peanut butter, I've still got my peanut butter out. We're going to be throwing some of this in as well. And I need about a 1/4 cup. I want this to actually have a nice strong peanut flavor. And we're going to stir that in. And I wait to do this until like all the garlic and the veggies are cooked down nicely. And then those spices have had a chance to kind of come to life. Okay, now I've got a couple other things here. Some crushed tomatoes. It's just going to really back up that tomato flavor and kind of stretch things out. And then I've got some garbanzo beans. And I'm not draining this. I want that liquid because the garbanzo beans have a lot of starch in them. And that preserving liquid has that starch, so it's going to help thicken our soup. I'm just going to stir that in until it's all kind of melted together. And I'm going to let the tomatoes and the garbanzo beans kind of cook down a little bit, about 10-15 minutes. Let's check on our stew here. Oh yeah, look at that. It's reduced nicely. Just a little bit of a simmer, not quite all the way up to a boil. And I'm going to come in here again with our blender. And I'm just going to come in here and give this a nice puree. I'm going to break up everything. The garbanzo beans, the peppers, the tomatoes, the onions, the garlic. I'm just going to go until it's nice and smooth. Okay. I think that's pretty good. I'm going to move this off the heat for a second, just so it doesn't get too hot on me. But this is looking pretty good. And of course, you could leave it as is, have a nice little, thick little vegetarian stew, or if you wanted to use veggie stock instead to thin it out. Or make your own veggie stock with some veggies and herbs. Now I think it's time to drain our bones. All right, so I've got a little bowl here, and I'm going to drop our strainer in there. Turn this off the heat. It's been going for a while, and you can see all that rich flavor. I'm just going to go ahead and start pouring this out. I'm straining this to catch all the bones and the little fatty pieces. Oh, isn't that beautiful? Okay, we'll set that off the heat. Pick this baby up. And you have all that rich chicken stock. And I'm going to take a ladle here and start ladling in our stock just until it's kind of thinned out some. We get that consistency we're looking for. I'm going to start with about 4 cups and just kind of thin that out. Beautiful. So we're going to just carefully drop our chicken in. And again, the chicken's already cooked, so I always wait till like the very end to throw it in because I don't want our chicken to become overcooked. Right now it's still nice and moist. And I'm just going to throw it in here long enough to come to temp and give it a chance to really pick up all those lovely flavors we've developed as well. Because if I've said before, chicken is naturally bland and it needs all the help it can get. So we're going to let this about 10 to 15 minutes just on a very low and just let this chicken come together. In the meantime, I think our skin is ready to come out. Held onto my knife here. Yeah, this is nice and crisp. And I'm just going to just kind of come in here and give it a little rough chop. It's pretty brittle, so it kind of breaks apart. I just want nice little pieces so we can kind of use it as a garnish. All right, let's plate up our salad now. Normally, I would pour the vinaigrette all over the lettuce and then just toss it up. If I'm serving like to a large group, that is kind of what I like to do. But since this is just me and I'll have salads for work the rest of the week, I think I'm just going to kind of do a little individual salad here. And then we'll take some of our dressing here. And like I said, if it gets too thick on you, you can always add a tablespoon or so of water. Just kind of stir that in, just to kind of thin it out a little. It did kind of firm up on us sitting in the fridge. And then I'm just going to take that and drizzle it over top. Don't have to be too precise, just kind of back and forth. Just enough dressing to moisten the lettuce, not so much that it wilts it. I think that's good. And we're going to plate up our soup. I think 2 ladlefuls will be enough. Oh, guys. And then we're going to come in here, some of our chicken skin, a little bit of our parsley for color, and there you have it, West African peanut soup. Ah, this looks so good, everybody. I mean, normally I just graze in front of the camera, but with a meal like this, I feel like you actually have to sit down and really dig in. So I'm going to start with the salad first. Just get a little nice bite of everything. Nice crisp lettuce and tomato. Yeah. So the tomatoes, I love the nice and acidic, nice pop of freshness. That dressing, though, it's nutty. Kind of hard to explain. It's nutty, though. You get the citrus. You get a little bit of the heat from the garlic and the Dijon. Nice crunch from the cashews. Wasn't that crunch? Salad should have a lot of texture to it. So good. All right, now for the soup. It's really hot. Oh my god, okay. So it's really creamy and velvety. And I didn't even use any cream or anything like that. Just from blending everything down and with the peanut butter and stuff, gives it a nice creaminess without having to use any dairy. It's nice and flavorful. Definitely some heat will aftertaste of the cayenne and the jalapeno, but it's not overpowering. It's just enough to kind of wake everything up. You know it's there. The chicken is still nice and moist. It has some nice texture to it. That's why I really wanted to use the whole chicken instead of like a canned chicken or something like I would normally do. And then nice little crunch from the skin. I have to say, guys, I've really outdone myself this time. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this up. Then we'll cut into our blondies, and I'm going to show you a fun little frosting to put on top. All right, time to finish up our dessert. Our blondie has cooled down beautifully. And look at that, nice. It's nice and cooled, and it's loose. It should slide right out. Oh my gosh, beautiful. I'm just going to carefully set that on our cutting board. Now for the topping, I'm cheating a little bit. I have a container of cream cheese frosting. This is just a small container. If you were doing like a whole cake, then you would want the larger container. But I think this is going to be plenty for our little blondies. Just want to get all of that out of here. Beautiful. And some peanut butter. About a couple dollops. Just enough to flavor the icing. And I'm just going to come in here and just give this a rough stir. Just to incorporate the peanut butter and the cream cheese icing. And now, we're going to turn this into a little bit of a ganache. This is going to go in my microwave. I'm going to go in about 30-second intervals so I can keep control of the melting on that. Okay, give this another little stir. So it's nice and liquidy now. It's exactly what we're looking for. And then we're just going to get fun here. Get a nice dollop on our whisk. And just come in here. Just have some fun with it and just paint it on. We'll come back in here with our spoon. And just kind of come in here and just go to the middle where it's thick. And we'll come out to the edges and just smooth it out. And I'm just going to go in here and cut this. I think I'll do about 4 rows this way. Turn this around, and then we'll come this way just till we get nice little squares. All right, guys, I want me a corner piece. And just take a look at this. You see it's nice and crisp on the edges, and then the inside is nice and soft, just like a regular brownie. Let's give it a little taste. Oh yeah. There's a nice soft chew to it. Nice and crisp on the edges. You get a piece of the hazelnut, just gives it a nice textural contrast. And then of course the little peanut butter ganache just melts in your mouth. I was going to box the rest of these up and take them with me to Bible study, but I don't know if they're going to make it. Well, I want to thank you once again for joining me in the kitchen. As always, like and subscribe. Hit me up in the comment section. And until next time, bon appetit.